Well, hello and welcome back, all you beautiful people. My name's Kieron Seamons. This is my inky world, and today we have a question. We have a question on the very painful subject of rejection. Okay. The message reads, have you ever been rejected in your work? I have had a lot of it recently, and I'm finding it very difficult. How do you deal with rejection? Are you suggesting that I've ever been rejected? Me? Moi? Yes, I've been rejected a million times. Right, let's have a little chat. This way. Well, welcome back. Yes, rejection is a very big part of life. Rejection in love, rejection in work, rejection in lots of things. It's just something that you are going to have to kind of thicken your skin over time. But I do remember some of my early rejections, and they were extremely painful. I do remember being a very young lad trying to do a storyboard for a show called Count Duckula, which was one of the great Cosgrove Hall shows. And as a slightly younger child than that, I was watching Danger Mouse and things like that, and I absolutely loved it. And my dream at that time would be to work on something like that. And I got the chance to do a storyboard test, and it was for Count Duckula, and there's amazing characters in there. And of course, I'd done all my practicing of Count Duckula, all that, leading up to it. I'd been practicing drawing. I felt like I'd really got very good at it, until it got to the part where I actually had to do the test. And they give you a couple of pages. I don't know what it's like now, but they give you the whole script, but they only gave you a few pages for a test. And my test was quite strange, because it was all indoors. This section of it was in the castle, and Igor, who was this rather big character, and Nanny, who was this other rather big character, were most of my scenes. And I think Count Duckula's in like one or two scenes, so it was very difficult to kind of set up story panels for two very large characters that were constantly almost like filling the screen every time you would. Oh, it was so difficult. And I'd spent so much time on the storyboard, and I'd spent so much time on the detail of every finger and every eyelash, and it was absolutely as perfect as I could make it at that age. And I remember kind of getting the script at the time and thinking, what does that mean? What does NB stand? What does PH stand? What does like wide field mean, or all these terms? And I was like, oh my god, I have no idea what it all means. And I kind of basically didn't really know how to read a story, how to really interpret a set of scenes to put into this visual. So my visual at the end was very beautiful, I have to say. At the time I was kind of like walking in like, you may look, and I got the rejection, and it was like 52 elephants had just run over my head. I couldn't believe it. I was like, why? What did I do wrong? And the guy that I went to see actually really was wonderful, and he basically explained that yes, I'd done a very beautiful set of drawings, but I hadn't really told a story. I hadn't really done a storyboard. A storyboard is a set of panels that work with camera rolls and directions from the script, directions from the director on how it should be set up. And it was only really then that I mean, he was kind enough to give me time to explain some of the scripting parts and how to do this and how to do that, and to draw a little bit rougher. It's okay if they're not perfectly on character and all that type of stuff. And but it did hurt for quite a few years, to be honest. Every time somebody had said, "I've got some storyboard work," I'd be like, "Oh no, I don't want to touch that," you know. So yeah, that was a very, 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 very early, very painful rejection. But I did learn about storyboards. I did learn about reading a script, understanding a story and stuff like that. So it was very, very, very important lesson. And I'm trying to break this into two sections here about rejection with a lesson, and rejection because you obviously haven't done what they wanted. And while a rejection is a very painful thing, there is something very beautiful about the lessons that you learn within it. I wouldn't really have gone on to do storyboards and stuff like that later on if I hadn't have got those rejections, and those people, those very kind people, had taken time to explain some very basic elements. So lessons learned are a beautiful side of rejection. Although, you know, when you get rejected, take a day. Okay, go and make yourself a hot chocolate and go and get some big chocolatey donuts or something and soak in your sorrow. Yes, but then the next day, think about what they've said. Think about what they were trying to help you with, and I do find that you will kind of fall into a pattern of learning from your rejections, which is a very, very beautiful thing. That each time you kind of get rejected, you could kind of say, was it about the drawing side of it? Was it about the storytelling? What did I understand the script wrong? Blah blah blah. And you can kind of have a discussion with them and get some feedback about where you can improve for the next time around. One of my next big rejections was a very, very important. It was on the concept side for a small movie that was going on, and I decided that I was going to be a concept artist. And the test was quite simple. It was you're given a character and you're given his location, his home, if you want. And I had spent all this time doing the character, and I'd spent a lot of time thinking about, well, you know, he's kind of like this evil character, and he's kind of coming from like hell and all these devilish things, and I was thinking about all the colours and all the excitement that I could pump into it. And I came up with a character that I was really pleased with. And as you do as an artist, you kind of think, this is the one. When they see this character, they're gonna rewrite the whole movie for this guy. And so I kind of walked in and I had my character, and I'd chosen a really beautiful oranges to kind of show his fiery, angry kind of side, oranges and reds and stuff like that. And it really, I was so pleased with myself. I really was feeling like I was getting somewhere. And then I had to kind of do a background concept, and the concept was this fiery cave. And what came from it was this lesson, this very painful lesson, that I had spent all the time on the character, and I'd done it all beautiful and amazing, and then I'd gone away and I'd done the background, and I'd done it all amazing and beautiful, and all the detail and excitement and everything. And not at one point had I considered I'd done anything wrong, until I'd gone to the kind of meeting and I kind of got my elements out and given it to the kind of art director. I'll do just a couple of colour swabs, if you want, just to kind of give you an idea of what I'd done. And and my character was this. Okay, we can draw a little face on him if it makes you any happier. Okay, well, let's draw a little face on him. There you are. Let's give him an angry, devilish character, and he's got a big tooth. Right, so there was my devil character. Isn't he mean? Isn't he beautiful? Isn't he got great colours? And I was like, there you are, that's what I've done. And he kind of looked at it and was like, yeah, oh yeah, I love this and I love that. And can you see that? That was my devilish character. And then I gave him my background. It's like, look, it's just a splash of paint at the moment. It's not a background. And I was like, oh, look, there's the fiery land that he lives in, and what. And he kind of wasn't as impressed. I couldn't quite see what had happened. He kind of looked at it and was like, oh, okay, oh, yeah, okay. And I was like, oh, what is wrong? And he basically asked me, had I put the characters together? Had I put them in their location? And of course I hadn't. Why would I? Why would I? I'm doing a background and I'm doing a character, right? And all of a sudden, he destroyed me by dropping my character, can you see it, onto my background. Now, can I get that in the light? That's what I gave him. Now, at this point, I still really hadn't understood. And he basically said, your character is camouflaged. We cannot see the character. Your beautiful character with all the great details and the great characters and great colours and amazing. But you've put him on the same colour background as he is. So he is now a camouflaged soldier in a forest. And I almost had a heart attack. Like, I suddenly felt extremely stupid. Now, please understand, if you look at my character and you look at my background, if you look at them, they're really quite nice. But if you look at them like that, or let me show you this way, if you can see my character, lovely, see my background, it's lovely, but once you put them together, and he basically showed me a small test, and he basically said, well, look, I'll draw another face on that just to make it fair. And he basically said the same problem with the other guys, and he showed me what the other the other future concept artist was going to do, and he had done that. Can you see that? He had done exactly what I had done. And basically what he did in front of me was basically, if you two had met in the interview room and you had realized it, you could have basically done that. You basically could have swapped them over, and it would have been a better interview than the interview that you ended up with, for the simple reason that we could see the characters, we could see a difference between them. And it was so painful to me that I basically sat on the train home almost in tears. I was just devastated. I felt stupid. I felt like an idiot. I felt really bad, and it really upset me. And to a point where I actually, after after a day of eating donuts and 27 cups of coffee and whatever else, I kind of got around to understanding. And that has been the beginnings of my journeys over all these years, about learning a little bit about, okay, so my character is orange. What colors work with orange? What could I put next to it? Could I put this color next to it? And basically I ended up almost like with a color chart. If I use this painted up old thing as a you know, you can kind of put it next to green and see how it works, and see it next to reds, oh, next to blue. And it's just a way of kind of trying to understand colors, understanding what looks and what works, and going into the whole circle of, you know, the color wheel, and kind of understanding colors that kind of work together in a way. And that for me was one of the very painful lessons, or a couple of the very painful lessons for me at the beginning, about doing a storyboard that wasn't a storyboard. It was a series of beautiful drawings that meant nothing. They didn't tell a story. They didn't indicate any drama. They didn't really kind of suck me into a feeling or anything like that. So it was a series of drawings. It was not a storyboard. And the same way as the concept artist was, I did a character and I did a background, but I did not do a concept. And from those very painful lessons, I learned to kind of learn about colors, learn about telling a story, learn more. And the more jobs that I did, the more I learned. And I felt over time that I was kind of slowly kind of climbing a ladder of knowledge, if you wish. And so in this kind of, now I kind of am at a level where if I get a rejection now, and I still get rejections, it's not like it's a foolproof service, and quite possibly you will still get rejections as well. The point being that you might do something that's in your bubble, and this is a kind of a difficult thing to kind of explain. If I've got a blank piece of paper, oh, some Norman drawings in the back there. And the kind of, can you see that? Okay, so you have your bubble. Now this bubble is you. This bubble is all your thoughts and all your emotions and all your kind of love and passion for what you do. It's all in that bubble. Now, when somebody comes to you with a piece of work, that is the work. And they are trying to give you all the information for you to build something within your bubble to present it back. Okay, so it's kind of going to you for you to make something very, very beautiful, for you to give them back, to hopefully please them. Now this is a very difficult thing, because what you're doing is you're also kind of having this within the bubble. You need a little bit of mind reading capabilities. You do need to kind of get in there and kind of like, oh, he wants that, oh, I see, right, yeah, right. And what happens with this bubble is you kind of go to the interview and you have a talk with somebody, and they'll say, we want this, we want that, we want this, we want that. And on the train home, you'll be sitting there thinking, yeah, he wants that, he wants that, he wants that. Yes, he wants that, he wants that, he wants that. Yes, he wants that, but he could have that. And he could have that. And by the time you've kind of got home, you've kind of not gone, he wants that, he wants that, he wants that. You've kind of got to this point of rethinking everything and regrowing everything and retelling the story to a point where you're kind of saying, yes, we'll give him that. He definitely needs some of that. And oh, he'd be lucky if he gets some of that too. Yeah. And you kind of rework all this stuff, and then you kind of fire it back, and then they kind of reject. They might look at it and you might get a rejection of it. So part of that kind of interview is really about writing down very clearly. Bring yourself a little notepad. Always bring a notepad to an interview. especially an artistic interview, and write down words that come into his kind of direction, because he might not write down the summer in Seville. He might not mention that. In his brief that he gives you, I'll give you a little letter. But he might be talking and saying, this takes place in this environment, and I kind of feel like it's the warmth of the Seville summer and things like that. And you might go, oh, Seville summer. And he might say, it's kind of like like a scene from that movie, where somebody goes to the wine fields and sees all that, and he sees all the butterflies above the wine fields, and you're thinking, wow, that movie, I haven't seen that movie, right? You can write that movie down, you can check it out. So all these little snippets of information are there to keep you on the ground, not to get too dreamy in your return. And a lot of these kind of elements that the director will talk through and dictate to you are all kind of little clues and elements to about what is in his head. And if you're not taking this too far back into your bubble of what you can do, well, I can draw mountains very good. Okay, I'll put some mountains in it. No, he wants it in a desert. There's no mountains there. So be very aware of that when you're doing this. Being in your circle is something that as you get older, this circle kind of gets a little bit smaller. So if somebody rejects it, your piece of artwork that you've taken a week to do, and he rejects it and says, it's not what I want for, it's not what I asked for, at least you can kind of take a step back and you can kind of say, but it's okay, he doesn't want it, he doesn't like it, he's not going to pay for it, but it's still a beautiful piece of artwork. And at least you can kind of be a little bit balanced with yourself from it. But taking this work back to your kind of bubble and re kind of working it for them is about really sticking to the roots, sticking to what they've done, the concept of what they've explained. And I think you'll find it much easier to deal with things that way. Try not to bring in too much of your own thoughts to it. Try to rely on their thoughts as the kind of bridge to them and you. For example, if they're talking about a Seville summer, then you might go with something like that. But what they want is somebody to walk into that's from, maybe he's a businessman and he's got some letter from his dying father that says he owns a vineyard or something, and he's a businessman dressed in his blue suit, and he goes to the vineyard and he stands out like a sore thumb. Do you see? This is basically how you're starting to play with your concept. You're starting to play with your colors. You're starting to play with your story, and you're starting to build something up. But so take rejection from this part. If they don't like your work, learn from it. Okay? Don't just take it as a big arrow that's hit you in the chest and you may die from it. I know I have, so don't worry. Especially from the duckula one, that was like, yes, I will go home. But take rejection and learn from your rejections. If you are rejected from something, try to get some clues into what they didn't like. It's always extremely helpful. If they've talked about something and you've done something, it's very clear for you to say, okay, I misread it. I misunderstood what you said about what. But rejection is part of the game. It is part of being an artist. The same way that you might not even do it as a commission for somebody, but you might do 100 paintings and be out in some kind of craft fair with 100 paintings, and you're sitting there and you're feeling like, I've opened my bubble and the whole world is now seeing everything about me. That's a very beautiful thing to think, but at the same time, If they don't like it, they don't like it. Okay? The next person might come along and might just say, oh my God, that's the best thing I've ever seen, and buy all of them. Okay? So rejection is also a little bit about opinions. Okay? So don't take it too heavy. If you are getting a lot of rejections, for me, what that means is you need a little bit more learning, a little bit more looking into maybe what you have done wrong. You could go to your friend. Friends are not really the best people to ask, because friends are, what do you think of my painting? Oh, I love it. What do you think of this painting? Oh, it's so sweet. Oh, I love it. Okay. So you love everything that I do, right? Oh, I love this. I love that. And this is amazing. And you get your inner ego gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But if you're in a studio and you go ask somebody, say, I've done this, even in the interview room, I've done this for the interview. What do you think? Oh, that's nice. I wouldn't have done that black on his hat. Oh, why? Well, he doesn't like black. Oh, he doesn't like black. Right, remember that next time, right? But there's a lot of things to learn from. You can get a lot of books about storyboarding if you're interested in storyboard, and sit and work through some of the exercises in it. The same with concept work, the same as animation, anything like that. You can actually go through and buy a lot of books now. When I first started off, there was very, very few books, and now there's like everything everywhere. And try to go for a good name. Go for somebody who you can kind of put that name to doing something, and it will help you a lot, especially with storyboarding, because it's such an in-depth process. But I hope that helps with your rejection. Don't take it so serious. Don't take it too hard. If you do get rejected, learn from it. Kind of elevate yourself from it. If you do get a rejection, that basically should be a message to yourself saying, okay, I need to learn more about storyboard or concept work or whatever. So take it as that, in the same way that if you're selling all your oil paintings and they don't sell, obviously if you go there every month and after a year they're not selling, then maybe you could try doing one show with something different. You always paint horses. Why not this time you paint people? See if there's a difference. See what you might learn from your audience, which is, we are working in the visual side of things. So, if you're to do a lot of paintings of ladies or something like that, and you sold half of them, maybe you could always go back to your horses later on, but maybe you could do a few more kind of things that are appealing to people to kind of make your money and build yourself up and build up your learning, build up your technique. So rejection basically is just a step for more learning. Okay, so don't take it so hard. Okay, I definitely took it hard when I was younger. I definitely did, but now I keep learning. Okay. Soak up the rejection. Don't take it so hard. Take it as a little bit of a, okay, go and do some learning after you've had your donut and coffee. Go and do some learning. Go and educate yourself a bit. Go and find out more about your subject. Okay? So I hope that helps. I hope it is not too chatty. I hope it helps you. I hope it kind of opens your mind and relaxes your heart a little bit about all that rejection. But it will come. So just live. Okay? Just keep going, keep strong. All right, so keep learning, and I will see you all very, very, very soon. Thank you very much.